Today, we're diving into one of the most confrontational and honestly foundational dialogues in all of Western thought, Plato's Gorgias. Now, this isn't some quiet, polite philosophical chat. No, this is an all-out intellectual brawl over the very nature of truth, power, and how we ought to live our lives. Let's get into it. And we're starting with this challenge thrown down by Socrates' fiercest opponent in the dialogue, a guy named Callicles. This line just perfectly captures the high stakes of this debate. I mean, is philosophy a noble quest for what's good and true, or is it just a childish game that leaves you totally defenseless in the real world? It's a heck of a question.
All right, Section 1, Athens, a war of words. See, to really get the Gorgias, you have to picture 5th century Athens. This was the world's first great democracy, a city just buzzing with ambition. And in a democracy, being able to persuade people to stand up in the assembly or the courts and win an argument, that wasn't just some nice skill to have. It was the ultimate source of power.
And this created a real clash of titans. On one side, you had the sophists. These were savvy, worldly teachers who, for a pretty hefty fee, would teach you the art of rhetoric, how to be persuasive. Their goal was simple, your practical success. And on the other side, you had Socrates, a man who couldn't care less about success and cared about one thing, truth. And he sought it through his famous method, the dialectic, a kind of relentless one-on-one questioning designed to strip away all your false beliefs.
So let's get into Section 2, the promise of power. First, let's explore the really powerful case for rhetoric. Socrates kicks things off by questioning the famous sophist Gorgias, who the dialogue is named after. And for Gorgias and his followers, rhetoric isn't just an art. It's the greatest art of all. Gorgias basically defines his art as the master key that unlocks everything else. He claims that with the power of persuasion, you can have the doctor, the general, the engineer, all working for you. You don't need their expertise. You just need to be more convincing to the crowd than they are. It's the ultimate tool for influence and control. And Gorgias' student, Callicles, takes this whole idea to its most brutal logical conclusion. He argues that all these concepts like justice and fairness, well, they're just rules that the weak majority invented to hold back the naturally strong and superior few. For Callicles, the true law of nature is that the strong should rule the weak and take whatever they want. Power isn't just a means to an end, it's the ultimate good.
Okay, now for Section 3, Socrates' searing critique. So into this deeply cynical worldview steps Socrates, and he is ready to completely dismantle it. He's going to argue that rhetoric, at least as Gorgias teaches it, isn't a true art at all. It's something much, much more dangerous. Socrates uses this absolutely brilliant analogy. Think about your body. What's the true art that actually cares for your health? That's medicine, right? But what's the thing that just provides pleasure, making things taste good without any real knowledge of health? Cookery. It's like junk food. Well, Socrates says rhetoric is the junk food for the soul. It's just a form of flattery that pleases the crowd, while the true art that cares for the soul's health is justice. So here's the crucial point. Rhetoric's main goal is to create belief without knowledge. A great public speaker can persuade an audience that he knows more about medicine than an actual doctor, precisely because the audience is ignorant. Philosophy, on the other hand, is the difficult, sometimes painful pursuit of actual knowledge, and that has to be founded on what's true, not just on what sounds good. And this leads us right to the heart of the dialogue. Section 4, a moral revolution. This is where Socrates drops a series of claims so radical they would have sounded completely insane to the average Athenian. And you know what? They still sound pretty shocking today. He frames the entire debate around this single, powerful question. Just think about it for a second. What would you choose? Your answer really reveals everything about what you value most. Callicles gives the obvious common sense answer. Of course it's worse to suffer injustice. That makes you a victim, a slave. But Socrates just flips this completely on its head. He argues that sure, suffering injustice might harm your body or your property, but doing injustice, that harms the most important part of you, your soul. It corrupts you. It makes you a fundamentally worse person. And this leads him to his two core knockout paradoxes. First, that doing wrong is the greatest evil that can happen to a person. And second, and this is a real head-scratcher, that a person who does wrong and gets away with it is actually more miserable than one who gets caught and punished. Why? Because for Socrates, punishment is like medicine for a corrupted soul. Yeah, it's painful, but it's the only way back to moral health. So this was a radical argument back in 400 BC. But why does it still matter so much? Well, that brings us to our final section, the Gorgias legacy. The truth is, the fundamental conflict at the heart of this dialogue has never, ever gone away. You see, the questions Socrates posed became the bedrock of Western ethics. His own student, Aristotle, took these ideas and built a whole system around virtue. Centuries later, Christian theologians like Augustine wove these Platonic ideals about the soul and justice right into their worldview. Fast forward 1,000 years, and you have Enlightenment thinkers like Kant still wrestling with the same dilemmas of moral duty versus consequences. This debate has shaped our world.
And you can see this duel playing out all around us today. Is a political campaign about serving the public good or just about crafting the perfect spin to win votes? Is a lawyer's job to find justice or just to be the most persuasive person in the room? Is advertising about giving us information or just influencing our behavior? Every single time we scroll through social media, we are navigating this world of carefully crafted appearance versus reality, and that is the very battle Socrates was fighting.
At the very end of the dialogue, after his opponents have all fallen silent, this is Socrates' timeless conclusion. He argues that what truly matters isn't seeming to be good, but actually being good. That, he says, is the foundation of a worthy life, period. And so the dialogue leaves us with its central challenge, and it's just as urgent now as it was then. In our own lives, in a world that is just saturated with persuasion and spin, what do we prioritize? The power that comes from convincing others, or the integrity that comes from seeking the truth?
This is for entertainment and educational purposes only.